I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you. Good
Thanks.
morning.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, thanks for that. Sorry about the technical hiccup. I am very excited. I've got some good stuff here. I'm really hoping that, to inspire people. I, when it comes to investing, a lot of it is doing nothing, right? A lot of the times markets work and you don't need to do much. You kind of buy a stock, it goes up, and that's okay. But thinking through when when it comes to investing, the biggest names in the industry, the way that they really make their mark is not when everything is going up and that people are singing and dancing. It's really the outperformance is driven when the markets take a breather. So I'll just give another second or so. Got a few people kind of signing in, and I'll kind of jump right in. Anyway, George, thank you so much for coming, man. I really appreciate your attendance, and I'm gonna see you 2 Fridays time. So not this Friday, the following Friday. I look forward to catching up with you. Very kind of you. Thank you very much for reaching out for that. Okay, I think we're ready to rock and roll. Basically, so the average investor, these are averages, but the average investor makes 2% per year. The S&P makes 7.5, depends on what you look at. So when I'm working to drive towards that 15%, I have been, I feel that the way that it gets done is for some practical aspects that I'm going to discuss. So I've got 5 practical things that we can talk about today. The way that this works, it's for you, right? I'm doing this for you. I want, I would like to jog somebody to kind of think something out, to kind of think, okay, to kind of to make you think, okay, maybe something different. So I describe my process. This is my process. You're welcome to adapt it. You're welcome to use it, but this is mine. What I want to provide for you is a framework so that when things are kind of a bit uncertain, you don't have any doubts about what's happening. So feel free to pick and choose what applies to you. My portfolio is a reflection of who I am. My process is something that I've worked hard at and refined. You're more than welcome to take what you want, but recognize that it needs to be true to you, okay? But there's some common principles here that I believe you can use, okay? So the first thing that I always find is that when the markets are going up, everyone's like, oh, what stock can I buy now? Everyone wants to buy. But like the money isn't made in the buying. And similarly, the money isn't made in the selling. And I know that like people say all kinds of things. I want to crystallize my gain. No one goes lost taking a profit. But these are just bravado comments. The money is made in the holding period. When you participate in the proportional amount of the increase in free cash flow. So everything that I'm going to talk about is really about the free cash flow. And in the market, there's so many different distractions. It's like, oh, interest rates are coming up. No, sorry, interest rates are going down. Oh, no. There's like inflation and the CPI number came in and the unemployment this. And there's so much stuff that is designed to distract you. And everything that I am trying to instill in you is about focus. Focus, focus, focus. It's just really repetition. And, I like to kind of give examples. Hopefully you find these useful. I spend a lot of time in the kitchen and, I think about it in this way. When it comes to make, if you want to be like a chef at a reasonable restaurant, you have like your core classical dishes. You just repeat these dishes ad nauseum. It's repetition, 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 and more repetition. So when it comes to investing, you need to have a very clear understanding of what your process is. So that when the markets slow down, you know, like, oh, this share price is down, like what's going on there? Like you don't want to be, you want to have a clear understanding. So I'm going to go through 5 practical things that I'm hoping you can at least, resonate with one of them and say, okay, that's kind of worthwhile picking up, and I will take that on board. So the first thing that I want to talk about is that whether it comes to buying into stocks or selling out of stocks, as a rule, I strongly recommend that you pace out this process. The way that I think about it is when you buy into one share of a company, it's like you're buying a house. So you wouldn't just go and buy up the whole block all of a sudden, you do your due diligence, and it takes time, because between you buying something and it actually completing and you moving in, a lot of things can surface. And you didn't think about that, or the neighbor didn't say this, or you didn't see that there was a lot of crime on the street. Things surface. So whether you're buying your portfolio or whether you're selling your portfolio, space it out, because market conditions you cannot control. You can't control. You can control the stock that you buy. You can control how much of your portfolio allocated out. And you can control the price you pay. Everything else is out of your control. You cannot control anything else. And when people say, oh, I want to get 5%, I want to get 50%, it's a load of nonsense. And people say these kind of things to make themselves feel like they're in control, but you can't control that, okay? So again, I recommend that when it comes to buying, you kind of buy, let's say, company A, then you buy company B, then you buy company C, and you space it out. And similarly, when it comes to raising capital from your portfolio, I recommend you kind of try and space it out. Personally, I try as much as possible to leave some cash on the side for some emergencies. I have a portfolio, but in the practical world, I know that life has a way of hitting you down at the worst possible time. Markets are going down, you lose your job, like all kinds of things are hitting the fan. And that's just life. It has this ability to kind of punch you at the worst possible time. So you need to do the preparation so that when life comes, and that does happen because it's real life, when it comes and hits you, you kind of have some kind of plan. It's the way I think about it. So a while ago, there was kind of a viral video on YouTube. This was back in the day when Alibaba was like the top Chinese company to buy. Obviously, probably wouldn't be so viral today. But it was Jack Ma saying, the time to raise capital is when things are going well. The same way that you try and patch your roof when the season is good, and you don't try and patch your roof when it's raining. And that kind of resonated with me. So it's like you in seasons, in biology, there are seasons. There's spring and there's summer, and it's all through seasons. So you put in the hard work in the spring and in the summer of collecting the fruit to get you over the winter. So you prepare to get over the period. So you need to put some frameworks in place, such as when the market does sell off and goes through these periods, you know what you're doing. So it's not just one big nebula and you're like, oh my God, the markets, I don't feel well and I've got some anxiety. So that's the first thing. As a segue, I personally do this, and I strongly recommend this is really a powerful tool, accountability. So I'm not saying you need to invite your husband or whatever to buy stocks with you, but have a discussion about your plan and make it reasonable over the next, let's say, 1 year. Don't say, oh, I'm going to invest and in 10 years' time, I'm going to be a triple millionaire, whatever. But have an accountability partner. It can be like, like a piece of paper or your dog or whatever, but somebody that you vocalize, because when you start talking about things, it makes it much more real. Now, I spend a lot of time thinking about affirmations, so things that I repeat to myself as a way of kind of making them happen. You may or may not believe in that, and that's like, I don't know, but if you see any elite sports person, they spend a lot of time trying to kind of dream up these things so that they can make it a reality. So have a plan, make yourself accountable, speak to somebody about it, so that when things are kind of going a bit haywire, you can say, okay, I want to grow my portfolio by 5 or 10% this year. This is the practical work that I'm putting in. It can be like, I don't know, at the weekend I'll do something or something. You need to be reasonable with yourself. Some people are retired, and they have more time, and some people have a full-time job. But you need to be very fair, and whatever you set out to do, actually go through and complete it. The other one that I want to mention, because I see this so much, and I think that this is one of the worst things that people can do. Don't feel like you need to buy every dip in your stocks. You are not in the market to battle your ego. It's not your ego against like the market, okay? The purpose of the market is that you are participating in the future free cash flow or earning power of those businesses, okay? So it's not like, oh, the market got this wrong, it's unjustified sell-off, I'm going like, no, just because the problem is when you buy the dip, it's a very charged moment, and you kind of need that dip to turn back and go higher rather quickly, because otherwise the anxiety just builds and everything just builds. So the way that I like to suggest is, when stocks sell off, as they do, give it a bit of time, give it a couple of days or a week or so. And by putting this framework where you say, okay, I'm just going to see how things settle out. And always remember, just because stock A has fallen in your portfolio doesn't mean the stock B and C in your portfolio is not doing tremendous things, So you don't have to put yourself in a position where, I'm right, the market is wrong. Sometimes just take a step back. Like I made a mistake with recommending Enovix, okay? So Enovix is a company. I was like, oh, this company is going to do really well. And I recommended it. And I honestly believed that at the back end of 2024, this business would be making some revenues and I'll be like singing and dancing. And what actually happened is that it's nowhere near that, okay? So now it's been pushed back further. So if I keep buying and buying and buying and buying now and put all my capital there, my whole portfolio is going to just blow up. So I've put a framework in mind that I recognize in myself that I am someone that is prone to action, to take control. So I put this stop on myself to stop myself from acting on my emotions. I'm putting a framework because I recognize that Michael is someone that is not particularly emotionally able to control himself. So there, I just put a little pause and say, okay, I'm just going to hold it out. Same with GitLab. I recommended GitLab, and I was like, oh, this company is going to do X, Y, Z, and it didn't work out. And rather than just doubling down and say, no, like the market is wrong, I said, okay, no, it's cool. Let's just take a breather. Let's see how things develop. Okay, so number 4. So everyone, on this call and in investing, everyone has a hope and a dream to grow their portfolio. Everybody, that's your goal. You're trying to grow your capital. But remember that when it comes to selling a stock, there's somebody on the other side that's buying a stock from you. So my best advice is don't let the market lead you into your actions. Think independently of your framework. So again, for example, my framework is I like to own a stock for at least 12 months. I have this kind of lock-in period. After 12 months, I'll reassess. So for example, GitLab didn't work out. I am not going to keep pounding my fist on the table. Just let it ride out. Maybe next quarter, maybe in 2 quarters' time, things work out positively, and I'll be like, oh, I'm off to the races again. Maybe it doesn't, but I just have this framework. This is an experience that I've built over time to recognize the faults in my process. I put it in so that I can just allow myself room to grow the portfolio in the other businesses. So holding period is really, really important. And that ties up to what I said at the start, that it's not the buying and the selling, but it's the holding on to the increased free cash flows over time. That is really, really important. And number 5, which is the final one I want to discuss. When you look at the portfolio, if you look, say you are, I don't know, if you're seeking Alpha or Google Finance or whatever, you look at your portfolio and you see some kind of reds and some greens, and you're like, oh, that stock, like, what was that again? Like, oh, that's such a dog. Like, why is it not working out? If you write for yourself 3 bullet points on why you buy a company, so you can put that on a Google spreadsheet, you can put that on a Google Drive, so that you can just, it's just like snapshot, 3 bullet points of why, and don't put the valuation. I recommend try and understand the free cash flow, so that when you open it up, it's a few seconds work. Okay, maybe let's say 5-minute work. Okay, you put in 5 minutes work, and it can save you quite a lot of capital. So if you think about the number of hours that you or someone else had to accumulate in terms of earning that capital, the number of hours versus 5 minutes. You spend 5 minutes, it's worth saving quite a lot of that capital. You just have a bit of more understanding of why you bought the company XYZ in the start and what it looks like right now. Okay, so I'll kind of add a special 6-point. Actually, no, I'm gonna take a pause for now. I'll kind of open it up if anyone wants to ask any questions, and I can continue if nobody else has any questions that they want to ask. Okay, so the one thing that I find helps me as an investor, it's kind of aligned with that affirmation that I try and visualize. So let's say right now we are back end of April and markets are down. And I'm like to myself, okay, sorry, actually, let me rephrase. The market today is up, but the market has been in sell-off mood. So I feel myself, okay, there might be a lot of pain right now in the market, but that pain won't necessarily be here after the summer's out. So I kind of fast forward my mind. I think, well, there is some kind of pain right now, but that pain won't last. Again, going back to what we were discussing about the seasons, right? The markets go through seasons, and I've put in the work mentally beforehand, so that when these periods happen, there's my framework, that I stick to my framework, so that I know that this is just a season, and there's a bit of a sell-off, stocks like a breather, then they stabilize, then they go high, and then they go lower. It never goes up in a straight line, and it never goes down in a straight line. And it's really, really important to think about the fact that when it comes to investing, it goes up, down, but it does go up over time. So focus on where the companies will be rather than how things are right now. Okay, I've waffled on for quite a long time. Would anyone like to ask any questions? It's really for you, if you want to ask some questions, and yeah. Okay. Then I'll call it a day then. Unless anyone wants to ask any questions, I'll just call it a day.
Hey, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you very
Michael.
much.
See you soon. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Bye.